Hey class, hey, this week we're going to have a discussion about survivor's guilt, okay? The objective of this presentation is to help you recognize the symptoms of survivor's guilt, gain an understanding of what this guilt is, and learn some of the basic coping methods for dealing with survivor's guilt. Some of you may never have experienced this in the military or anywhere else, but I want you to know this is information here that you'd be able to apply in various situations of life, no matter where you're at. So please pay attention and think about ways as we discuss this today on how you could end up having situations where either you may experience this or may be able to assist someone who is experiencing survivor's guilt. Okay. The agenda for this is what we're going to learn is what survivor's guilt is. We're going to see when this occurs, the symptoms of it, the effects of it, how to cope with it, how it affects children, and we'll have a short conclusion. Okay, so what is survivor's guilt? What are we talking about here? This is a feeling that people experience by those who have survived some sort of catastrophic event that's taken place in their lives, okay? The normal response to an abnormal situation is the way that I like to think about it, and it can be derived partly from a feeling that one didn't do enough to save the people who perished or who were injured, okay? So, again, it's not just people dying, it's also people who are injured. When does this occur? It could be in a natural disaster, okay? It could be in a war, it could be in a school shooting, a plane crash, bridges collapsing, all kinds of things like this happen in our lives. And again, this is why I believe I really want you to pay attention so that you can be able to be prepared in situations that may occur in your future or may have occurred in your past. It's not just war that we're talking about. Okay, so it's the life-threatening types of situations, but it also could be other things, okay, such as surviving a layoff from a job. People can experience survivor's guilt even though they were nowhere near the disaster zone, okay, and didn't even lose a loved one. So, like I said, it applies to everybody. What are some kind of symptoms that apply to survivor's guilt? Those intrusive thoughts and nightmares, sleep disturbances, a change in one's appetite, loss of motivation, very common, and feeling immobilized are just some of the symptoms that occur in survivor's guilt. Okay, obsessing about the event, sadness, anxious feelings, withdrawal from family and friends, feelings of hopelessness, loss of self-confidence and self-esteem are other symptoms as well. We need to be able to understand these effects because guilt can intensify the trauma and grief, prolong the entire process. What may be something that could be a short process could extend into a long period of time for somebody. It can immobilize people mentally and physically, okay, or even emotionally, and hinder the well-being, productive actions and positive relationships that should be taking place in one's life, and giving that person a sense of being stuck in a particular situation. Again, these are all effects of this guilt. Okay, how to cope with it. Again, this is going to be simple. We're just scratching the surface, but I want you to be aware that people trying to deal with this need to acknowledge the guilt and the grief. A lot of times people try to push it down and they don't even want to face that this is what's happening, but that's the first step. And realizing these feelings of guilt are normal, okay? And seeking out support from others, okay, about the experience that you're having. Okay, so this is, important for people if they want to learn how to cope with survivor's guilt, okay? And you can realize it's okay to let yourself be happy and thankful that you survived a situation that maybe others were not so fortunate and able to do. That's an important step. Other things, getting involved with helping other people is one of the most proactive steps somebody could take, okay, to help other people. Helps you to cope with such situations. And practicing in self-care, that could be physically and mentally, allowing yourself to grieve and recognizing that this is an opportunity to honor those that are deceased. Okay? Children and survivor's guilt. Children Children and adolescents can also experience survivor's guilt for many of the same reasons that adults do, feeling they should have done more, feeling they should have been there, okay, when they weren't. These are common that even children process these kinds of thoughts. So we need to be aware of that, be aware of their feelings as well, okay? When you're trying to help a child who's gone through something like this, you need to help them identify and express their feelings. Sometimes children need to be walked through the feelings that they are experiencing because it's oftentimes more difficult for them to identify and express those feelings. Encourage them to tell their story and what their experience has been. And of course, giving them lots of love and affection, answering the questions as honestly as we possibly can, and help them find ways to honor those people who have died as well are also very important. Okay, so I'm just going to stop here, but I want you to be aware of these key components of survivor's guilt. And again, there's other resources out there for people that are experiencing this or want to learn more. Remember, just real quickly, that most with survivor's guilt recover with help from family, friends, and community. Okay? Be aware of that. And, survivor's guilt is a common response and normal response to, again, abnormal situations. Be aware of that definition. Okay? And survivor's guilt can occur when there is a natural disaster or a national disaster. Guilt can cause someone to become immobilized. These are some of the key components that we just talked about right there, okay? If you have questions, you can always come and seek me or seek other professionals in regards to this situation. Okay, thank you. Here's some of the other resources. This presentation, this PowerPoint was put together by the Department of Defense, and this is the contact information that they've also provided for those who are seeking more information.